Hello and welcome to episode 38 of the vChat podcast. I'm Simon Seagrave from techhead.co.
And I'm David Davis from virtualizationsoftware.com.
And I'm Eric Siebert from vSphere.com.
How you going, guys? Good to see you again. Hey, this must be a record. This is two podcasts. This is our second podcast within 2 weeks, so it's good. We're back on the rails again. This is looking positive.
Sure, yeah. Good to get a regular schedule.
Hey, so since we last caught up a couple of weeks ago, what have you guys been up to? So, Eric, what have you been up to in the last couple of weeks?
Still getting settled in at the house, and then the mad dash to VMworld and that. Got 4 sessions, so trying to get all the decks done now for that. Actually, one's a panel, so I don't have to do a deck for that, but trying to get that all nailed down. Been doing the vMworld tour, and that was at Indy last week, which is the biggest vMug in the world. Well, maybe not in the world, but in the U.S. at least. They had 860 actual attendees, and if you look at kind of their the number of sponsors they have compared to some of the other events, they had about 70 sponsors, so really big solutions area where you can go and meet with all the vendors and that. I brought a virtual rack to the show and that, which everybody was kind of oohing and ahhing on kind of one of those.
So Eric, what is a virtual rack? Do you just sort of turn up with sort of? Is it like an air guitar? You sort of turn up and here's the virtual rack, and it's all running in the cloud. How does that work?
It's kind of cool because what it is it simulates a physical rack, and it essentially is a full traditional rack. And what it has is 2 monitors inside of it turned sideways, so they completely fill the inside of the rack cavity. And the back of the unit is simply there's a shuttle PC back there. And that PC runs the kind of special software or whatever it is that kind of powers it. And the whole rack's interactive, so you can touch on the various components. I can bring up different storage units and that, and have the rack configured with servers and storage. You can touch on them and find information about them. Real cool thing is you can hit a button and have it flip and see the back view. So it's like you're looking at the back of the servers or storage and that, all the plugs and interconnects and all that stuff. So really neat. Really, people were all like, "Oh, this is so cool!" And even other vendors are coming over and saying, "Oh man, that thing is so cool!" and that. But great way to bring stuff to the show without actually having to bring in that heavy equipment and power it and the noise and all that stuff. And it's really interactive.
Man, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I know a couple of years ago Cisco did something similar. It was like a rack, but they like you say, they had the vertical place screens on there, but that was more like a demo environment where you could click on the components. Then I can't remember what their technology is called, but you could spin the product around. So like I think they were using it quite a bit from memory. Gosh, I'm trying to think of the product now. Can't remember. But anyway, you could spin the appliance around 3-dimensionally and look in and sort of drill into it. But that said, it wasn't a real world application as such. It was just purely just for demo purposes only. I had a bit of a play with that, and that was awesome. So I can imagine what the HP one was like there. That was be pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was fun. And overall, the show was good. And then I'm going out to Chicago, the next one, in September. And that saw Chris Wall at Indy. He was out there with his new company and that. And overall, really good show, really good traffic and that. They had Kid Colbert was there for the keynote speaker and that, talking about native cloud apps. And a really good event. So yeah, the vMugs are definitely fun. If you haven't been to one, definitely go to one. They're all over the country and that. The season tends to be from March to they wrap up at about September, October and that. But they're great events, and there's typically always one kind of near you in your region, and that no matter where you are.
No, definitely. That's pretty sizable as well. I mean, in Europe here, the largest one I know of has got to be Holland. The Dutch vMug they hold. I can't remember. It's either once or twice a year. Okay. At least the large one they do anyway. The national one. That's massive. That thing. I mean, that's like a small mini VMworld almost. The Dutch seem very passionate about their virtualization, which you can tell from the bloggers. The Duncans. Yeah, Duncans of this world.
They actually did some cool things this time at this one to kind of spice it up because, traditionally it's like a mini VMworld, like you said, but they're trying to make it a little bit more fun and that not just be a dry conference. So at the back they had a vending machine, and at this vending machine, if you tweeted with a hashtag IndieVMug and give me free stuff, a little gift would pop out right away as soon as you tweeted that. It would show on the screen on the vending machine. This little gift was like a charger or something, and that would pop out of the vending machine for you to get. They also had a little race car thing in the back where you could drive race cars. They had a little blackjack table set up too, and other things. And so they're really going all out now, trying to make them, a bit more interesting, fun, and not just kind of the dry kind of things, talking to vendors and watching sessions and that, but just making them a little more fun and interactive for people to kind of enjoy themselves while they're there.
Wow, that sounds awesome. Yeah, I have to try and find an excuse to head over there one day and and attend.
Yeah, they're fun, good events.
Yeah, the Indy VMUG, it amazes me, nothing against Indianapolis, but that they can get, 860 people to Indianapolis. It's not exactly known as the tech, mecca. It's not Silicon Valley or, Boston or something like that. So, yeah, really...
I'll tell you why. I found this out this last VMUG because the guys I was with that were the local guys were asking everybody where you're from. So they pull from Illinois, Kentucky, Ohio, and Indiana, kind of where they're centrally located there. That's why they're so big in that. There was a lot of people coming from Illinois, some from Louisville, Kentucky, some from Ohio, the Indy folks. So that's why even Chicago, people come down. So that was why. Because I was always curious too. I'm like, Indy, you don't think of them as that big. How could that be the biggest?
Right.
Chicago would be bigger or something. But that's why is because of that location there, they pull from about 4 or 5 major metropolitan areas, and that's why they get that many people.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and then I know they have a huge group of guys who, volunteer their time and spend many months ahead of time planning and campaigning, like to get the very best speakers and like you said, the coolest gadgets and freebies and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a very cool event.
Yeah, a lot of work definitely goes into it. I mean, I was fortunate enough to attend the Singapore National VMUG at the start of the year, and the people behind the scenes there, I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of the guys there, and the amount of hard work, sweat and tears that goes into pulling these events off is just huge. Actually, one of the best events I probably ever attended in the US, I've always enjoyed the VMworlds, but is Varo Madness. I know, David, you've attended Varo before, the Varo Madness, but that's always got a really good buzz to it, and they do a great job at creating a real sort of atmosphere around the event.
And they theme it around the NCAA tournament too, and that, right? The March Madness.
Yes, yeah. It's all about the basketball games, and they have a bunch of different contests related to that. And I mean, they do some crazy stuff too. They had a flash mob the day that I was there. Everyone started dancing, and they had like Transformers walking around in suits, and so yeah, really cool event. I hope that they continue that with. I know Vero was purchased recently by Sirius, so I hope they continue that event because I'd like to go back. But yeah, so now it's all about the push to VMworld. Simon, what are you doing to get ready for VMworld?
I've got a couple of demos I'm pulling together for that, so I'm not too sure whether I'm heading over there yet, actually. So I've got to still waiting and seeing. So I may or may not be going. So yeah, I've just got to watch this space and see whether I can purchase a plane ticket or not. If not, I might just have to take some time off work, I think, and get a cheap hotel and a cheap flight over. I'm not sure, but yeah. What about yourselves, David? Are you attending this year?
Yeah, definitely I'll be there. Just trying to complete my vSphere 6 fundamentals course before VMworld, so I can say it's available and ready, and also working on a book for a vendor about hyperconvergence, and so just a lot of stuff to do, and then all the planning around schedules. I am now going to be a Tech Field Day delegate at VMworld. Stephen Foskett has a great VMworld Tech Field Day event going on. It's like a 4-day, half-day thing. So one of the days I'll be at that, and then just trying to work out the schedule of all the different events and parties and get-togethers and meetups. And Eric, what are you doing at VMworld?
Yeah, kind of be another crazy one. I got 4 sessions I'm participating in, so that'll be fun. One got stuck on Thursday, so I'm stuck there that extra day. And then just all the usual stuff. Checking out things. HP has a bunch of things going on, so we got 2 booths there. And that we're doing a race car thing in one of the booths, in that where people can interactive race against each other and all that. And so just a lot involved in the planning and that, and And typically when you're there, it's all whirlwind, and that it seems to all just kind of fly by, and that and so many things to do, so little time, and that the vendor parties are all starting to hit now on that, and of course there's always conflicts there on which one do you pick, which one do you go to, and that. Of course, the Veeam party is probably the best one to see, and I imagine they'll be having that again as well, so that'll be a good one to catch, and but yeah, it's just trying to get ready now, and looking forward to getting there.
Yeah, and just to let everyone know as well, there will be a VBeers as per normal. It should be. I'm just confirming the details at the moment, but it'll be the usual at the Chieftain on the Saturday night. We'll kick things off around about 5:30 or 6 until when the last person leaves. So great community gathering there, great social catch up. So come along for a drink or two and some food, and it'd be great to meet up with folks there.
And the VM Underground, I haven't heard anything of. I haven't really looked either, but I don't know if they kicked that off yet, or the Mad Dash for tickets to that, or I know it's at the same place. I think I read something on that the Metreon.
Yeah, I mean those guys talking about hard work and putting hard work into these events. I mean those guys, really do put a lot of time and effort, especially as it's grown as well over the years. It was probably quite straightforward in the early days, but I know those guys put a lot of legwork into making that event happen. So full credit to them.
Yeah, for sure, it's a good one.
Yeah.
So David, what have you been up to the last couple of weeks?
Just working on video training. Did a big data protection megacast this week, talking about data protection for 3 hours live online over the webinar feeds there. So that was pretty tiring, but also a lot of fun. And then just getting ready for VMworld, trying to figure out the schedule. I've been using my home lab a lot to create this vSphere 6 training, and the home lab that I'm using actually today is much different from that in the past. In the past, I always had hardware servers and a dedicated NAS. And now it's really amazing what I've been impressed with what I've been able to pull together, just all virtual. Inside I've got an iMac with a terabyte of PCI flash and 32 gigs of RAM, and with VMware Fusion, I've got a Windows Active Directory, DNS server as one VM. I've got a storage server as another VM, which is really just another Windows server running NFS and iSCSI Windows File Services. So that's like my NAS, my virtual NAS. And then a vCenter VM running Windows, and then a couple ESXi hosts. And I've still got room to add, some more ESXi hosts. And the hosts even have 8 gigs of RAM assigned to them, which is actually what my hardware physical servers used to have in the past that I did all my training on. They had 8 gigs of RAM. Which isn't much, anymore, but it's still plenty to run, a couple VMs or something on a virtual ESXi host, and it just performs really, really well. Like I can reboot everything and power everything on, and within a few seconds, everything's just back up and it works. So I've been really, really pleased that I haven't had to have any, dedicated hardware, and everything's just so fast and responsive. So I'm thankful. It seems like it's finally gotten to this point where it's all virtual and it works.
What's RAM do you have in that to support those?
32 gigs.
Oh, 32. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So have you checked the thresholds on there? How close to that 32 gigs do you get when you're running your lab there with a couple of VMs?
I haven't. Actually, that's a good question. Because the lab's running right now. Let's see, I'm using 25 gigs out of 32 gigs right now. And so yeah, I keep the lab running all the time, and I still do everything else on my computer and don't even notice that it's running with all those VMs. So
you got what processor you got in that thing? Is it a?
It's a it's an i7.
i7, okay.
4 gigahertz.
Okay.
Yeah.
i7, big butt.
Yeah, I'll tell you what would be making the difference for you on that, though. Rather than the CPU and memory, it'll be the storage. I mean, those cards on there, it'll be like a SSD M2 card or something like that, and those things absolutely scream. Even if you're caching down to them, they're so quick. They're absolutely amazing. I look forward to actually. I mean, obviously with your Mac Pros, you can get up to more than 64 gig now. But it'd be nice to see the iMacs come out with that option to, because I'm kind of finding with my lab work at the moment, I mean, I'm still running an ML110 G7. I've got 32 gigs in there. And at the moment, I'm just having a look. I'm running Windows Server 2012 as a domain controller, the Virtual Center appliance, and it's consuming 18 gigs just with those two things. So you've only really got a little bit of headroom there for a few more VMs. So, if you could take that up to the 32 gigs, 64 gigs, then you've got a bit more of a lab happening. I look forward to the time where 64 32 becomes the norm, but 64 is a acceptable upgrade path.
Yeah, me too. I looked at buying a Mac Pro just to get 64 gigs, but the cost, is just still so. I don't know what they are, $8,000 once I maxed it all out or something. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I don't know if you guys have heard, but Revelo Systems, they gave free access to all vExperts. And even if you're not a vExpert, it's still like pennies per minute, based on the resources you use, kind of like Amazon Web Services. So with Revelo, you've got you can have a massive lab. I mean, William Lamb has a blog post where he ran, I don't know, 256 ESXi hosts all running vSAN or something like that, all through Revelo in the cloud. And you can clone VMs, you can, you have templates, and it's really it's amazing, what you can do with Revelo. So if people out there are looking for home lab solutions, instead of dropping $4,000 on a new iMac, to try to do something, or buying a NAS or a couple home servers or something, it might be a good way to start and just, spend $50 or $100 and see what you can do in the cloud.
So let's do a quick poll here. I mean, you guys, I think we're all from the background where we've always liked the hardware, the physical hardware, having an ESXi host running on its own box type of thing. Where do you stand now? Have you shifted at all? Or is that still your preferred option for a lab? Or, how have things changed for you over the past sort of couple of years?
I'm kind of on the fence. I still have all this physical stuff. I got 2 ML110s, 3 microservers, iOmega and that. But just haven't had the time to get it up and running and upgrade and all that stuff. And I've done workstation on my i7 PC here and that, and that's not too bad and that. So I could see going the more virtual route and that, or the cloud route and that, just less headache to mess with hardware and all that stuff and that. But having the hardware is always, if you're a geek and that, you always like that hands-on working with that stuff and that. So I could kind of go either way, I think.
That's interesting. David?
Yeah, I think I could kind of go either way as well. If I had the time and the little bit of extra cash to tweak and build a home lab, I think I would still do it just because it would be fun. But I guess the practical side of me is like, hey, if I can do everything virtual in Fusion or in the cloud, and it works, quickly, it has good response, then I'll just do that and be done with it.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, well, for me, I think I've definitely, I like the hands-on hardware, and I'm still running it. At the back there, I've got 2 ML115s and ML110. Oh, God. 2 microservers, G7s, 1 microserver, G8. But in reality, I've only got 1 server turned on. I think I've swayed across now. I would probably build, if I was going to build an all-singing, all-dancing environment now, I'd probably look at buying a white box, or building a white box, something that's capable of perhaps taking 48 or 64 gigs of RAM, and they're just running sort of nested ESXi instances. I haven't quite made that jump into the cloud yet, just because I haven't had to up to now. I'm sure once I do, I'll see the virtues of going down that path. But I kind of like still being in control of the environment a little bit, I think, and that's the old school systems administrator in me a little bit, I think.
A lot of people are going to those NUCs now, and that next unit of computing, and those little small boxes that are kind of optimized for space and efficiency. And at the Indie VMUG, they were giving away kind of a home labs built on NUCs and that. And a lot of the vendors, I know like VM Turbo has a lot of giveaways. They're giving away NUCs too and that. So that might be, if you want something efficient, small, and something that's a little bit more manageable, and that might be a route too. That's more affordable.
Yeah, what's the hardware spec on there, Eric? I mean, sort of memory-wise,
I
particularly.
I think I did a post on it. I haven't looked at it in a while in that, but I thought it was fairly decent in what they can do in that and what they can upgrade in that. And it's such a small form factor because they're pretty small boxes in that, and but they really packed a lot of stuff in there, I think.
Yeah, I looked at the Nooks when I was wanting to build a vSAN lab. I ended up going with the Apple Mac Minis, which are similar to the Nooks because I believe they both. I mean, I know the Mac Minis max out at 16 gigs. I think the Nooks still max out at 16 gigs. The last time I looked, and both of them, you know, they don't have fans, so they're completely silent, and I really like that. I went with the Mac Minis simply because I thought, you know, the resale value, and you know, if I didn't like it, I could just use it as a regular Mac, and that worked. But I know, yeah, like you said, a lot of people use the Nooks. To me, the problem was always just the 16 gig, you know, of RAM, you know, limitation, and trying to squeeze. In my case, I tried to squeeze an SSD and a hard drive in there so I could do vSAN,
Okay.
and there's a little bit of customization, you know, that you had to do to make it work. So yeah, I think like Simon, if I could buy just one big server that had 64 gigs of RAM and run, you know, nested ESXi and stuff, that would be the way to go. But yeah, the Nooks are pretty cool. Something else when you guys were talking, I thought of is I've used VMware Hands-On Labs a lot, you know, because it's free and they already have everything already loaded. So like if you want to try, you know, if you realize automation or operations or, you know, vSAN, all these different things that normally, you know, take so much work to get running it in your home lab, so much work to get to that point. Within, you know, about 2 minutes, you can have access to all those different products for free, you know, without any lab at all. So and they have a sandbox, you know, vSphere sandbox. If you just want to play with vSphere for a 4-hour block of time, you can just a few clicks and provision that as well. So it's a pretty cool, I think, home lab option if you want to call it that.
Yeah, well, definitely. It's the most cost-effective anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's free, so you're only paying for your time and your internet connection. So
right.
Yeah, you definitely save yourself a bit of money there.
Right. Simon, I know you've been posting some videos recently about vVNX. I've heard of EMC's, you know, hardware-based VNX, but honestly, I have no idea what a vVNX is. Is that something that you could use in a home lab?
Yeah, it is. It's so yeah, I'm just generating a series at the moment of how to install, configure, and run the virtual VNX or vVNX. It's something called the Community Edition, and the Community Edition is a free version of basically, you know, people watching this may have heard of the Solera VSA and the VNX simulator before now, but literally they were sort of simulated versions of the actual physical appliance and had, as such, had a lot of limitations. This is actually a whole new code base. And it's probably, you know, when you're in the interface looking at it, it's probably more closely resembled to the vNXC 3200 out there. But basically, in a nutshell, what it is, it's a VSA you can download for free, install in your lab. There's no time restrictions or limits or anything like that. The only limit really is you've got 4 terabytes of storage maximum that you can assign to it, and there's no official support from EMC. So it's one of those products. If you want some shared storage for your lab, you just sign up on EMC.com, download it, get yourself the license key, install it. It's very easy to do. It's all wizard driven. And you can be up and running with shared storage in no time. Now, the nice thing with it, you know, once you get the license file, you can do things like compression, deduplication, snapshots, and play with all that sort of good stuff. So, what it's good for folks out there that perhaps have got a test dev environment, people that want to educate or upskill themselves on the vNX and Unisphere web management interface. And you know, people like ourselves who run home labs, and you know, you don't want to shell out for a sort of a physical NAS appliance at all. And the good thing with this as well, as opposed to the earlier versions, admittedly the Solera could do block and file, but the more recent VNX simulator could only ever do file, but this new version can do block and file. So, you know, you can have a real good play around. It does CIFS, you know, all the usual stuff on it. So yeah, pretty good product there actually. And yeah, like I say, it's all web based. Follow your nose, click click click, and off you go. So yeah, it's a lot easier than those earlier versions. So yeah,
cool.
that's what I've been up to.
Cool. Yeah, I saw you posted 3 videos. Is that the install and configuration or install and setup?
Yeah, it's one of those ones. I just wanted to. I thought, oh, I'll just do a quick couple of videos, and you know what it's like. It's like you could either. I had two approaches to it. I could either do a click by click and then discuss what I'm doing as I go on, and that's the approach I ended up taking. And it's amazing, you know, once you start talking to camera and you're doing things, you know, I thought, okay, 2 videos max. I'm up to the 3rd one at the moment. It'll probably be about 5 videos long. I've purposely kept each video short to about between 5 and 7 minutes, but it will really just handhold someone through the process of doing that. But in reality, I'll probably do like an abridged version, you know, for those folks out there who are perhaps more technically comfortable with installing sort of products such as the VSA, where you just like click here, click there, and don't give any background of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and best practices and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's amazing how something quite small you end up doing a sort of 4 or 5 video series on that, albeit only 5-minute videos a piece. But yeah, it's been good fun, good product. I've enjoyed playing with it, and got up and running in my lab now. And you always like trying out new products, you know, whether it's you know, from EMC or other vendors. It's, you know, I think you know, all us geeks at heart, we always like kicking the tires and trying out new technologies. So
right,
yeah.
Does it support VAAI?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, supports VAAI.
So that's pretty
well.
cool, you know, as compared to using, like, I'm using Windows Server for NFS and iSCSI. So it supports VAAI, and then does it do vVols yet or not yet?
Not as yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Chad Sackatch has got a blog post about it where he mentions, I think he mentioned Q3 for potentially having vVols on that. You know, the wizards, I mean, a lot of it's all GUI based and what have you, so you know, you can jump into the nuts and bolts of it via command line if you want, and also to some extent via the web interface as well. But if you're not familiar, if you're not a storage admin, it is easy to just jump in there and use a lot of the, you know, the wizards to take you through to spin stuff up, because you can actually create VMFS data stores as well just through a couple of clicks of the button. You tell the wizard about the ESXi host or your vSphere environment. It can then tell you, you know, all the VMs that are currently running on there, how much storage it's you know, each one's consuming, what VMs are running on there. And then what you can do is actually, it's easy, just a few clicks, you then can configure or deploy a new VMFS data store up to those hosts without even touching the vCenter interface at all. So yeah, there's a couple of cool little things like that. So it's good to play around with. And
it supports VASA, so I can create storage policies. Also 1, probably.
Yeah. So with that one, you can specify your tiers of storage on there.
Okay.
So when you're creating your data stores on there, you can specify whether it's, oh god, I've got to remember what exact terminology it was. Capacity, performance, and extreme performance. So basically, what that equates to is if basically you're running nearline storage would equate to capacity. Then you've got your normal SAS disks, which was the performance, and then you've got your high performance, which is obviously your SSDs. So yeah, that's what they sort of relate to. One function you don't get with it, so that license file you download and install and everything, you don't get fast VP at all with this as a free product. It's and that's your sort of your file auto tiering between your tiers of storage.
Okay.
So you don't get that at all in that license file.
But that's pretty cool. I don't know of many free community VSAs that support VAAI and VASA and block and file both. So yeah,
it's good. That's why I've enjoyed playing around with it. The vNX simulator that's been out for a number of years now, it was always good. It just it was almost there but not quite. So this is good. And like I say, a whole new code rewrite, and it's a proper VSA as opposed to a simulator. So yeah, it was good. So it's nice to get my hands dirty on that. I mean, Eric, in your role working for a vendor as well, I mean, I know HP's got some great stuff there you can download as well, play around with.
Yeah, our VSA as well. I think we have a 1 terabyte free edition on there, and that, and we pack it with every ProIron server too. I think we give you 4 terabytes or something with it as well there. But yeah, just a great way to, if you don't have the storage and you want kind of a full functioning storage array SAN in your lab environment, VSAs are a great way to get that. And there's a lot of other, I think, like Starwind, another one that has Small Little Sam, and VSA, and there's a couple free, is like OpenFiler, is that still up there?
Yeah, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, OpenFiler. I think Nexenta also has a free
Okay, do they?
community VSA. Yeah. So what's the HP OpenFiler? Is it? It used to be the left hand. Used to be called left hand. What's it called today?
Store Virtual VSA.
Store Virtual VSA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is the one we have.
And does it? Is it NFS or
It's iSCSI.
iSCSI? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, fuck.
No
No vVols yet.
Okay.
We'll see.
No, I think it's what everyone's hanging out for, isn't it?
Yeah, I just created.
vVols, and then you need an array that supports it. So VSA is a good way to, if it supports it, that'd be great to have to get hands on with it.
Yeah, I just created a video in my vSphere 6 storage course on vVols, and thanks to the vChat we did, or the previous vChat we did, I learned a lot and I was prepared, and all of Eric's tips really helped me for that, so I appreciate it. But unfortunately, I didn't have a vVol capable storage array to actually demo how to configure a vVol. So that's something, as soon as the VSAs start supporting vVols, I'd love to go back and update that and actually show this is how you configure it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool stuff.
No, definitely. As always with your labs, there's always new gadgets and gizmos to download and play around with. Normally, it's just getting the time, isn't it? Really.
Always about time.
So guys, since we last spoke, any new geek or tech purchases at all? New additions to your geek caves there?
Yeah, I bought this little cool new HP just released a new Pavilion little kind of notebook there, and that cool thing about this is it's kind of multifunction in that it's not just a little kind of laptop, but you can pull it apart.
Oh no, you broke it!
It's broke.
Yeah, I know. Ripped it into.
It's got a good warranty. Yeah.
You can put it on this way, so now the keyboard folds under in that, and now it's just a tablet and that. And the price point on it was great in that $299 for it, which was a pretty good deal. It comes with 32 gig of flash storage and that, or you can upgrade that to 64 and upgradable to Windows 10, which is available now at a PC near you. And so yeah, I'm anxious to get Windows 10 on here and that. I've never really liked the 8.1 interface, although for tablets I guess it does play better because of all that touch and the tiles and that. But if you're running, the thing I found also is it's weird running Windows on a tablet and that, because you get with tablets traditionally like iPads and things like that, you're used to things just working in that. But with Windows on a tablet, you got drivers and patches and all sorts of other crap. You got all those headaches all over again. On tablets, you just want them to work and not have to do all that other extra stuff in that. But I'm getting kind of used to doing it all, and it seems to be fairly straightforward in that. I think when Windows 10 gets on there, still waiting. I've reserved my copy in that. Supposedly they're staggering out the release and that, so you can it'll eventually show up in your downloads. Supposedly it'll download in the background at some point. Everybody's eligible for Windows 10, even if you have a pirated copy. And so Microsoft's really trying to push everybody to Windows 10, get people off XP and Windows 7 and all the 10 and that. So, and I think I was reading today that the first day, I think which was yesterday, they had 14 million downloads of Windows 10 and that. So they're getting pretty aggressive about pushing that out. So
it's pretty good uptake.
Yeah,
I know my new laptop there, when I first started it up, it had a little thing, do you want to reserve your copy of Windows 10, which I have. So I should crank that up later today and see whether
I've been checking.
I'm on the queue.
I'm still, and it doesn't tell you when and that, but supposedly it'll just download in the background, and at some point it'll pop up saying it's ready to install. And the key thing to get it is there's 2 KB patches from Microsoft that kind of activate the Get Windows 10 app or install it into your taskbar. So make sure you do a Windows update to get all the latest Windows patches. There's 2 specifically that will install that'll get the PC triggered to pull down Windows 10.
It's funny, there's part of me thinking, yeah, I want to jump in, early adopter, blah, blah, blah. But as we all know, I think we've all been bitten before sometimes, not just with Windows OS, but other products as well. Part of me thinks, hold off for a couple of months, let the dust settle, let them sort of iron out the creases a little bit. But I know they've been very good with the beta program with this. It's been quite an open beta, so hopefully a lot of those early teething problems that these new release of OSs have, hopefully there's not too many of them.
And for me, on my main PC, I'm not going to upgrade. I'm going to stick to Windows 7. Personally, I just never liked their tile thing, even though it's muted down and you have a start in Windows 10. Windows 7 works. I'm going to stick with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it and that. But on things like this or a newer PC that's running 8, I would definitely go to Windows 10 and that. And maybe at some point, I think their free upgrade offer is only good for 1 year. So maybe at some point, 9 months, 10 months down the road, maybe I'll make the jump over here as well.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I've never gelled with Windows 8. 8.1 was a little bit better. It gave you a bit more flexibility, but I downloaded this. It's a third-party, free-to-download app, sort of shareware app thing called Classic Shell, and basically that brings your familiar-looking start button back with your menus, and it's a bit of a band-aid.
The thing is with 8, I always have to Google how to do things. Everything with that stupid window. All the tiles, all that crap. You don't have this traditional pick and program, so I'm always Googling on my kids' PCs, trying to fix things or whatever, Googling how to do things, and I just kind of hate what they did with it and that. So I'll be anxious to see in Windows 10, if we have a lot of that stuff back. Yeah,
I had that with Windows Server actually when they went from Server 2003 to 2008. The big UI changed there. Everything was wizard driven, and they sort of, I don't know, I felt they dumbed it down a little bit, and it's I just had difficulty sort of finding everything, but adjusted to it now.
I'm still amazed at the price point of that device you got there. I mean, compare that to an iPad. It's cheaper, and it looks like you've got a much larger screen and a full keyboard.
Yeah, full keyboard. Real nice keyboard too. In that, it's got that new. What's that new USB port? The C port or something?
USB-C.
Yeah. It's got the C port. It's got HDMI out. It's got a SD. USB. It's got the Bang & Olufsen kind of sound system on the sides there.
Wow.
So really nice, the camera and everything. Real nice unit. I was really impressed with it and that. And I think
that's interesting. So it's got the Bang & Olufsen, because I saw that HP's deal with the the Dr. Dre that fell through or went a bit west.
Because Apple.
The Beats. That went
now, so we're not dealing with Beats.
Went with Bang & Olufsen. So quite a nice shift there to another very reputable. A well-respected audio brand.
Yeah, I mean, or you can just take the keyboard off and just use it, without the keyboard flip back. So there's like multiple ways you can use this thing and that, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, before buying my laptop recently, I was looking at the Windows Surface.
I've heard a lot of
the Microsoft Surface. I was talking to I had Chad Sackett on the podcast, the other podcast I do the other day, and he had one there, and he said it was great. So it's working really well and what have you. So I was thinking about it because I do like the weight of it, but it wasn't quite. I mean, it's not as light as an iPad.
But price is it like $8.99 or something?
Yeah, for the Pro version.
That's the whole thing is that price on that is pretty high.
Yeah, and the keyboard to me was really awful.
Was it that little matte?
That's the rubberized.
That rubberized keyboard. I couldn't stand to type on that for very long.
Okay.
So, well, cool stuff, guys. I really appreciate this. We learned. What did we learn about? VMworld, vMugs, Home Labs, VSAs, vVNX, and Windows 10. Yeah,
that's so good. That's pretty good coverage. That's not bad in 40 minutes.
Well, awesome, guys. It's great catching up, as always.
Likewise.
Until next time.
Yep. Talk to you real soon. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.